You're going to work until you're 70, not because you want to, because you're going to have to. That's the quiet reality for millions of Americans over 50 who did everything right, paid the bills, raised the kids, kept the job, and got here to find out that the retirement they pictured simply doesn't exist in the numbers they have today. And you know what the most brutal part of that is? It's not the low balance. It's what comes with it. The assumption that it's too late to change anything now, that $300 a month doesn't make a real difference at this point, that the hole is too deep, that not the balance is what actually destroys retirement for people over 50, because it doesn't show up as a mistake. It shows up as common sense. And while it feels like common sense, it's making decisions for you, quietly, every single month, without you even realizing it. There's a $149,000 gap between two people. Same age, same salary, same market, same starting point. How? If you're over 50 and you've ever felt like maybe you've crossed the line of what's still recoverable, stay with me. Because what comes next isn't motivation. It's math. And it's going to change the way you look at the next 15 years of your life. This is a place for people who are rebuilding their retirement after 40, with real information, no shortcuts, no false promises. If this is your moment, hit subscribe right now and drop a comment below. What's the biggest fear you carry about your retirement today? Write it out. Because putting that into words is the first step towards stopping that fear from making your financial decisions for you. Let me describe a moment you probably know all too well. It's late at night. The house is quiet. And for some reason, maybe a bill that showed up, maybe a conversation about retirement at work, you open your retirement account app, and the number is right there. It's not the number it should be. Maybe you've already thought to yourself, even if I can scrape together $300 a month, does that actually change anything? Maybe it's $22,000. Maybe it's $8,000. Maybe, and I know this is hard to admit even to yourself, it's a lot closer to zero than anyone around you would ever guess. And then that feeling hits. It's not panic. It's something quieter than panic. Something heavier. It's the feeling of running the numbers in your head and watching them not add up. You think about your parents, about how they retired, how it seemed natural, almost automatic. And you start quietly wondering if that's even in the cards for you anymore. You ever felt that? That comparison that shows up out of nowhere, a coworker, a cousin, somebody you knew years ago, who started investing early, who's sitting on $400,000 today, who talks about retirement like it's just a matter of time. And you're looking at that thinking, I missed my window. Here's a number that puts that feeling in real perspective. The median retirement savings for Americans between 55 and 64 is $134,000. Sounds reasonable until you do the math. At a 4% annual withdrawal rate, the standard benchmark to make sure you don't outlive your money, that's $5,960 a year, $447 a month. That's the median. Half of all Americans your age have less than that saved for their entire retirement. So if you're sitting here feeling behind, embarrassed, or just flat out lost, you are not some edge case. You are statistically normal. But here's the part nobody says after they drop that number. Normal doesn't mean stuck. The reason most people your age stay frozen has nothing to do with how late they started. It has everything to do with what they believe is still possible from here. And that retirement assumption, never examined, never challenged, always treated like fact, is costing far more than any number on any statement. It's not a lack of discipline. It's not a lack of income. It's a financial decision made based on a flawed way of thinking. And that way of thinking has a name, a cost, and a fix. The window to build a real retirement is basically gone. I can invest a little, but compound growth isn't going to move the needle at this point. I missed the best years. That assumption feels completely rational, and it would be if compound growth were the only tool available to you. But it's not. And here's the blind spot that's quietly costing millions of Americans over 50 far more than they realize. There are financial moves available to you right now that are completely off the table for someone who's 35. Not loopholes, not workarounds, not risky plays. These are advantages built specifically into the U.S. tax code for people who are building retirement savings after 50, and most people never use them, not because they don't qualify, but because they've already made the decision to invest as little as possible, based on a retirement assumption that was never true to begin with. Let's talk numbers. If you're under 50 and you contribute to a Roth IRA, your annual limit is $7,000. If you're over 50, your limit is $8,000, an extra $1,000 a year, every year, for the next 15 years. That's $15,000 in additional tax-free contributions that the person who started at 30 will never, not once, have access to. In your 401k, the catch-up contribution for people over 50 adds another $7,500 per year. On top of the standard limits that already exist, that means you have access to $2,250 per year in extra contribution room that exists specifically because the system recognizes you're playing catch-up. But there's something even more immediate than that: your employer match. If your company matches any percentage of your salary into your retirement account, and you're not contributing enough to capture that full match, you are leaving free money on the table every single month. That's not a figure of speech. That's money your company deposits directly into your account. Money that's already yours by right. Money that disappears forever if you don't capture it in the month it's available. A 50 to 100% immediate return before the market does a single thing. And people walk away from that every month because they figure the hole is too big to close anyway. Here's what that way of thinking actually costs you. Every month you underestimate what's still possible. That's a month of match that's gone for good. A month of tax-free growth that wasn't built. A month of catch-up contributions that expired quietly without you noticing. The assumption that starting late closed the window didn't close any window. It just made you stop looking at one that was still wide open. And what comes next is going to show you exactly how much was on the other side of it. For a number that's going to change the way you look at every financial decision you've made over the last several years, two people, both 50 years old, both with zero saved right now, same age, same starting point, same market. Person A is carrying the old assumption, investing $150 a month, something small, because what's the point anyway? Not using the catch-up contributions available to people over 50, not paying attention to the employer match. The hole's too big to close regardless. Person B understands the strategy has shifted, investing $300 a month, capturing 100% of the employer match, 3% on a $60,000 salary, using catch-up contributions wherever possible. At age 65, same market, same historical average return of 7% per year. Here's what happens. Person A has approximately $38,000. Person B has approximately $187,000. Stop. Let that land. $187,000 versus $38,000. A gap of $149,000. Generated by the same market. Over the same period of time. By two people who started from the exact same point, zero. That gap was not created by luck. It was not created by talent. It wasn't even created by how much each person invested per month. It was created by one single assumption that one person never once questioned. The assumption that what she was doing wasn't going to change anything. Now let that really sink in. Person A wasn't irresponsible. Wasn't lazy, wasn't financially illiterate. She was making completely rational decisions based on an assumption that felt obvious, felt prudent, and was never challenged by anyone. And that assumption quietly took $149,000 out of her retirement. Not the market, not the timing. One assumption. Here's what nobody tells you about retirement after 50. Most people don't fail because they started late. They fail because they keep making financial decisions as if starting late changed the rules of investing. It didn't. The rules are exactly the same. Compound growth still works, index funds still work, tax-advantaged accounts still work. What changes isn't the rules, it's the strategy. the order of priorities, the specific tools that make sense for someone building now, not for someone who started at 25. That's the financial blind spot. Not the $300 a month. The assumption that $300 a month can't build anything real when you're starting at 50. And now that you've seen it, now that that number is sitting in your head, you cannot make your next financial decision the same way you made the last one. The real math, with the real limits and the real advantages of someone who starts at 50. $300 a month, starting right now, invested in an index fund averaging 7% per year, the historical S&P 500 average adjusted for inflation. By age 65, approximately $91,000. I'm going to be straight with you. That number alone doesn't fund a complete retirement. At a 4% annual withdrawal rate, that's $3,640 a year, about $303 a month in additional income. But now, watch what happens when you stack the right tools on top of that number. Add the employer match. If your company matches 3% on a $60,000 annual salary, that's $1,800 a year in money that's already yours by right. Invested over the same period, at the same rate, an additional $45,000 by age 65. Add the Roth IRA catch-up contribution for people over 50, that extra $1,000 a year compounded over 15 years, an additional $25,000, with tax-free growth. And tax-free withdrawals in retirement, which means every single dollar you pull out is entirely yours, with the government not taking a cut. Now add Social Security. The average American over 50 who has worked consistently can expect somewhere between $1,400 and $1,900 a month at full retirement age. But here's something that completely changes that calculation. If you wait until age 70 to start collecting, instead of claiming at 62, your monthly benefit increases by approximately 32%, not 5%, not 10%, 32% more every single month for the rest of your life. That one decision, made at the right time, with the right information, can be worth between $85,000 and $140,000 in additional lifetime benefits for the average person. Now add it all up. $91,000 from your $300 a month. $45,000 from the employer match you're going to stop leaving on the table. $25,000 from the catch-up contributions that exist specifically for you. Social Security optimized, collecting 32% more every month for the rest of your life. That's not a magazine cover retirement. It's not the scenario of someone who started at 25 and never missed a contribution. It's a real retirement. Built by someone who started from zero at 50, using tools that already exist, that are already available, and that a flawed assumption had been blocking this whole time. The anxiety you felt when you opened this video didn't come from a lack of options. It came from a lack of information about options that were already there. Now you have that information. Whatever you're feeling right now, relief, anger, that gut punch of why did nobody ever show me this before, put it in the comments. Not for the channel, for yourself. Because turning what you're feeling in this moment into actual words is what separates the people who watch from the people who act. And if this video shifted something in the way you see your situation, hit the like button. Not as a symbolic gesture, but because this kind of content needs to reach more people who are still stuck in the same assumption you just walked away from. Most people who made it this far into this video haven't looked at that account in months. Some haven't looked in over a year. And I get it. Staring at a number that isn't where it should be is uncomfortable. So we put it off. And every time we put it off, it gets harder to look. But you cannot fix what you refuse to measure. When you log in, find 3 numbers: your current balance, your current monthly contribution, and the expense ratios, the annual fees your funds are charging you. Write those 3 numbers down. That takes 10 minutes, and it's step 0 for everything that follows. Now, the sequence. Step 1, the employer match. Log into your 401k portal or call HR and find out exactly what percentage your company matches. If you're not contributing enough to capture 100% of that match, that is your first move, before anything else. Not because it feels like the most exciting thing to do, because it is mathematically the highest return action available to you right now. A 50 to 100% immediate return before the market does a single thing. There is no investment on the planet that touches that. Step 2. The Roth IRA. If you don't have a Roth IRA open one now. At 50, your annual limit is $8,000, not $7,000. Every dollar that goes in grows tax-free. Every dollar you pull out in retirement is entirely yours. That matters a whole lot more at your age than it would at 30, because you're closer to the phase where you're actually going to need that money. Any major brokerage, Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, lets you open an account in under 30 minutes. No mystery, no runaround. Step 3, the expense ratios. Tonight, when you log into your account, look at the annual fees on every fund you own. If any fund has an expense ratio above 0.50% per year, switch to the lowest cost index fund available inside your plan. A 1% annual fee on $91,000 over 15 years costs you roughly $15,000. That's not a rounding error. That's an entire year of retirement income quietly evaporating every decade. Step 4. Automate everything. Set up automatic transfers on payday, before the money hits your checking account, before you see it. Before you spend the next 30 days deciding whether you'll do it this month or not. This isn't a discipline strategy. It's a decision architecture strategy. You're removing the monthly decision from the equation entirely. The money moves, every time. No internal negotiation required. Step 5. Your Social Security strategy. If you're 50 right now, you've got somewhere between 12 and 20 years before you start collecting. Every year you wait past 62 increases your monthly benefit. At 70, you collect approximately 32% more per month than you would at 67. That decision, made with the right information at the right time, is worth more than most people accumulate in their entire retirement account over a lifetime. This isn't a decision to make on impulse. It's a decision to start understanding now, while you still have time to get it right. 5 steps, in that order. Start with step 0 tonight. Not because you feel ready, not because the conditions are perfect, but because waiting for perfect conditions is exactly what got you here. The real question, the one that always mattered, is what one more year of operating on the wrong assumption is going to cost you. Think about that. Every month that goes by without capturing your employer match is money that was already yours and just evaporated. Every month without the Roth catch-up contribution is tax-free growth that's never coming back. Every month making decisions based on the assumption that it's not worth trying is a month where time worked against you instead of for you. And time is the one asset in personal finance that you cannot earn back, negotiate, or refinance. Let that land. The one asset that doesn't come back, that can't be bought later, that doesn't do payment plans. Right now, at 50, you have 15 years of that asset. That's not nothing. That's exactly enough to build something real, if the decisions that come from this point forward are made with the right information. Most people are going to watch this video, feel like something shifted, and go right back to the same routine tomorrow. Not because they're irresponsible, because intention without concrete action doesn't change a bank statement. The people who get to 65 with a real retirement weren't more disciplined. They didn't have more money at the start. They didn't wait for the perfect moment to begin. They just stopped letting a flawed assumption make their financial decisions for them, one decision at a time. Starting with a small one, like logging into their account tonight and writing down 3 numbers. You don't have to solve everything today. You have to do one thing today. Because the gap between person A and person B in this video, that $149,000, wasn't built by one big dramatic decision. It was built by a sequence of small decisions, made consistently by someone who stopped believing it wasn't worth trying. You came here for the math. The math is done. Now there's only one question left, and it's yours alone to answer. What are you going to do tonight? If you want to keep seeing the financial blind spots that are quietly costing people over 50, the next video is already on your screen. It's going to show you something that most Americans your age are doing with their own bank that feels completely safe, and that is silently wiping out years of savings without you ever noticing. That's exactly the kind of information that changes decisions. Not tomorrow, right now.